SBR Videos is sponsored by Sports Cash System. Click on the link below for more information. SBRForum Videos, I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing UFC 168, and we're talking right now to Nick Kalikas from MMAoddsbreaker.com and contributing MMA analyst for MMAoddsbreaker.com, Brad Taschuk. All right, now let's get into Dustin Poirier and Diego Brandao. Poirier is minus 235 favorite, and this is another one, a featherweight fight. Brad Taschuk, what's your take on these lines?
I actually like Diego Brandao a little bit in this spot. You look at Dustin Poirier's history, and he's been very hittable, especially early in fights when Brandao is at his most dangerous. And Diego Brandao, I think, has a wrestling advantage here. I wouldn't be shocked that if he doesn't get things done early, if he is able to take Poirier down, and he's got a very solid top control jiu-jitsu game. So, at almost 2-1 for Diego Brandao, I'm actually liking that for a straight play.
All right, so then why do you think the lines are where they are? Why is Brandao such a big underdog here?
I think a lot of people are very, very worried about his cardio. That's historically been one of his weak spots. But he's gotten a lot better about managing his energy and still having energy to switch from his striking to his wrestling later on in fights if he does need to drag them out to the distance. And people are sort of overlooking this, but Poirier's faded in fights as well. We saw that against Korean Zombie, and we saw that against Eric Koch in his last fight. And he started to fade pretty badly in both of those fights. And despite putting a 10-8 round, arguably almost two 10-8 rounds on Eric Koch, he still ended up losing the third round there. So that's something that I think a lot of people are worried about on Brandao's part, but they're not worried enough about Poirier's cardio.
Nick Kalikas, Brandao seems like a live dog. Is that how you feel as well?
Well, I opened it under 2-1. It was around $1.70 or so for Poirier, and the public did bet it up. So yeah, I do think that there's possibilities here with this fight, because more than anything else, so we have to look at something right now. I mean, Poirier is a top 10 UFC featherweight. He's coming off a great win over Eric Koch. He's coming off some impressive performances, period. I mean, even his fight with Cub Swanson could have went either way. And a lot of people, the kind of respect level they have for Cub. So I think a lot of people just believe that Poirier is a top featherweight. And, it's hard to argue that. I mean, the guy is definitely a tremendous talent anywhere the fight takes place. He's got underrated wrestling. I mean, his striking ability is top notch. I mean, he throws a lot of punches, kicks at you, and I mean, the guy hits with power as well. And not to mention, we should also say on the feet, he's going to have, I believe, a 9-inch reach advantage. So if it stays up, I mean, even though height-wise he won't have that discrepancy, he's still going to have a fairly decent reach advantage over Brandao. So in this situation here, man, it's just tough. I think that's why they're coming in on Poirier a little bit more so than Brandao. Now, I do agree with Brad, though. I mean, people were underestimating Brandao's wrestling here. I think that it's possible he does get this fight to the floor. I think he does avoid getting submitted, and he can probably control fights. So on the feet, he's got knockout power. Brandao does as well. This is a tough fight. Even though Brandao is not a top 10 featherweight, and he does have some flaws in his game, he's still a very dangerous and capable fighter.
Brad Taschuk, what do you have to say about all those advantages that Poirier has?
I think that we've seen he's had those advantages in the past as well, and especially defensively, they haven't helped him. As Nick said, he's good offensively, and nobody's going to argue that. He's got good striking. He's got a good front headlock series of chokes. But once you get into the defensive realm, that length really doesn't help him out. He doesn't keep distance well. And Diego Brandao's fast enough that I think he can exploit that.
Well, I think we've identified another possible underdog with value on the main card of UFC 168. Pretty good card from a betting perspective, this one. Thanks, guys. Great input, as always.